The identity shift every footballer must make before the 2026-27 season if they truly want to see elevated performance and they want to really elevate and take their career and game to the next level. And I'm a guy who actually works with professional footballers. I've had clients from the Premier League level down to League Two, to non-league, to players in Canada, to players in Eastern Europe, and really all over the place. And since working with them, we've achieved together some really good results, such as national team call-ups, going on trials at teams in Europe, going from goal droughts to goal streaks, um, players achieving bulletproof confidence and really elevating their mind and really sharpening their mind and seeing that translate on the pitch in elevated performance. So I've made this video about the identity shift that you need to make to take your game to the next level. And this is the sort of stuff that I work on with my clients that allows them to achieve these sort of things. And by the way, if I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking at what you see on the screen right now. So in this video, we're going to be going over these topics. Why do you need an identity shift? Training harder slash more is not enough. Action and behavior follows your identity, and who do you want to be slash alignment. And these topics are super important when it comes to actually making a shift, and you have to really understand this. So if you want to take notes, whatever you need to do to really listen properly, just do what you need to do. But cool, the first bit, why do you need an identity shift? Now, the beginning of change is understanding. If you have no understanding of why you have to do something, then you truly have no inclination to do so. So I'm going to break down now why it's really important that you must shift your identity before going into the next season. And you have to really understand that your identity is who you subconsciously are at your core, not the front that you put on, not who you consciously believe you are, not who you want to be, but who you truly are deep within yourself, who you truly are. Your identity or your self concept or your view of self, your state of being, your frequency, they're all interchangeable names for your identity. Dictates your whole life and your performance on the pitch. I like to call it, and I always say that your identity, the way you see yourself, is the floor and the ceiling for all you can achieve in your career. You can't outwork your identity, and you can elevate no higher than the way that you see yourself deep within. So what that means there is like, yeah, you can say you want to achieve all these big goals, all these things, but if deep within yourself you don't really feel worthy, then you're always going to be capped. And that can come in the form of self-sabotage, not playing well in the pitch, not feeling confident, but you're unable to outwork who you truly are. Like that's why you can see players who they do all this work and for some reason they don't achieve what they want, even though they work so hard. But it's the mind, it's the way they see themselves. At the end of the day, you can't elevate higher than the way that you see yourself. It's almost like an invisible box that you've unconsciously put yourself in. And the only way to change that is by changing the way you are, the way you see yourself, your identity. So think about all the times in your life, in your career, where you said you're going to stay consistent or you're going to play a certain way, you're going to shoot more, you're going to take more risks on the pitch. But for some reason, you can't seem to follow through. And this is deeper than football, this is even in life. How many times have you said, you know what, I'm going to change this thing about myself? I'm going to change this. I'm going to finally begin being this person and doing these things. But for some reason, you just can't seem to follow through. And that's because it's simply not who you are. It's not within your identity. It's not in the way that you view yourself. That's why, you know, you can see people who, again, they want all these things in their life. They want to work hard. They set out these plans, but they just can't see. They start, but they can't follow through. And that's because it's not them. And until what you want becomes who you are internally, that's only when you'll be able to see it externally. That's the only time. The next point, and this right here may be a tough one to swallow as footballers and as athletes, because this is like you would think this is the foundation of everything, training. But the truth is that training harder or training more is simply not enough, especially at the most elite level. Everyone trains hard, everyone does the physical work. So, what gives you the edge? It's your mind. Now, what I've written here is the truth is that the majority of footballers will stay the same in terms of performance level they are able to reach next season simply because they do the same thing over and over again every single off season, every single preseason. All they do is train. That's it. More specifically, they only train the physical body and completely neglect the most important weapon in their arsenal, which is their mind. Again, understand your mind is the floor and the ceiling for all you can achieve in your career. So if your mind is not correct, you're not going to be achieving what you want. If your mind's not in the right, if you're not in the right state of mind, you're not going to be achieving what you want. And just think about it in your career at the highest level. Yeah, what separates players? Because everyone's good, everyone trains hard, everyone puts in the work, but it's the state of mind that allows a player to get that little edge that that makes the biggest difference. Because it's the small little bits that make the big difference over a long time. So cool. So elevating your performance will always be capped if there's a cap and a mental barrier blocking you from progressing. And the thing is, a lot of players don't even know that they have mental blocks. They don't even know that they have a cap on what they believe is possible for themselves. They don't even know it. And here's the thing that is quite sad, but this is how the mind works, yeah. You can go through a thing ages ago when you were a kid in your career, even in life outside of football. And that could have been a moment that made you feel insecure, a moment that made you doubt yourself, not feel confident. And that can be a thing that you're subconsciously carrying internally that is the cap and the block in your mind that's stopping you from going to the next level. Because even myself, I don't play football anymore. Of course, I work with pro footballers. But when I was younger, I played football. And I was a guy who, you know, trained really hard, did all the right things, but I didn't fully believe in myself. I had mental blocks that would stop me from going to the next level. I had the ability, I had the talent. But when it came to making that jump, I would self sabotage because deep within myself, I didn't feel worthy of actually going to the next level. So this is the sort of stuff that I work on with my clients, and we get rid of the mental barriers, the mental blocks, so they're able to really elevate the mind correctly and tap into their true potential. So, yeah, 99% of footballers think training harder is enough to allow them to tap into their true potential, but only a few understand the importance of training the mental side too. Because within all sports, within business, just in life in general, the people who go to the highest level have got the most elite mindset. The physical is just a byproduct of who you are up here. It's as simple as that. You can't outwork you can't outwork a poor state of mind, a poor state of being, a negative identity. You're always going to run into the same barriers over and over again. And only through an elevation of the mind and shifting identity can lasting improvement ever be achieved. Because think about this, and this is one of the craziest things in football, and it's annoying as a footballer and as an athlete. There are players out there who are worse than you, who achieve more than you. And I know you've seen it in your career. There's players that you know you're better than, but they're the ones achieving all the great stuff. They're the ones going on to achieve all this great stuff. And even think about it. We all know there's players who They ain't the best, but they have this insane level of self-belief. And that's what radiates throughout other players. The other players see the self-belief, see the confidence, and they give them that respect on the pitch, which makes them look better because it's all up here first. The physical is just a byproduct of who you are up here. So if you're tired of being that kind of player, you have to make that internal shift, that identity shift. You have to change what's going on up here. And by the way, if you're a pro footballer looking to take your game to the next level and you want to work with me one to one to help you achieve that, DM me on Instagram and we'll get to work. But cool. The next bit, which is very, very, very important, is that action and behavior follows your identity. This is very, very important. So listen carefully and take notes. So I've written here, this is extremely important to understand that action and behavior you take daily always follows your identity, who you truly believe you are at the core. Most players go wrong because they try and change the action they take by changing the action they take. What I mean there is that they want to be a player who trains more, so they try and train more. They try and force training more. They try and take all this vigorous, hard training to become this player. They try to force discipline. They try to force better performance. But that makes absolutely no sense. And I'll tell you why. Trying to force externally what you're not internally is the exact reason why people get stuck in these loops and cycles of being disciplined then falling off, being consistent then losing consistency, feeling good about themselves, then feeling terrible, then feeling poor about themselves very soon after. Because they're not addressing and changing the root cause of the problem, which is their identity, who they are. This can also have drastic effects on your ability to execute what it is you want on the pitch. You know you have the skill set, but why can't you pull it off all the time? Why are you scared to shoot? Why are you scared to take on defenders? You know you have the ability, but you just can't seem to do it. And it's simple because it's not who you are right now. It's not within your identity right now. And let me give you an example that I love to use. The example of two wingers. One winger constantly takes on his fullback. He's very direct. The other winger hesitates and recycles play. He's scared to take on his defender. He always turns back and just recycles. But they have the same ability, the same skill set. But the only difference is their identity. One of the wingers identifies as a direct winger and as a threat. The other winger doubts himself and doesn't know if he will even be able to beat his man. His identity is built on fear, doubt, and hope. The other winger's identity is built on confidence, certainty, and knowing. Remember, action follows identity. So, whatever you are able to execute on the pitch is always going to be a byproduct of who you are internally. And I know you've been there before. You know you have the ability, but when it comes to actually taking the action in the physical on the pitch, you don't believe you can do it. It's just not who you are. So maybe sometimes it works, but are you able to do this consistently? Can you do it on a consistent basis over a whole season, over 2 seasons, over 10 years? You know, are you able to do this over and over again? Now it's about really making the shift and understanding what it means to make a shift. So the question is, who do you want to be? What kind of player do you want to be? What things do you want to achieve next season? It's all about aligning yourself with this player now. So I've written here, really, really think about it. What kind of person and player do you want to be? What do you want to achieve in your career? What do you want to achieve in this upcoming season? Who do you have to become in order to achieve what it is you want? Because remember, it's always internal to external, never the other way around. You change who you are internally, and reality shifts. Don't ever be dictated by reality. That's how you lose. But the 1% understand that their internal, their identity is the main foundation of what they achieve externally. You must be to become. And what that means is stop waiting for life to change for you to feel better about yourself, to finally become the player that you want to be. You have to become that player internally now, and then life begins to change. Stop waiting. You must be to become. So write these questions down and answer them. How would you think day to day if you were already the player that you wanted to be? How would you think about yourself? What would you think about day to day? What do you think about football? What do you think is possible for yourself? And that's on to my next point. What do you believe is possible for yourself if you were already the player you wanted to be? What would you believe is possible for yourself if you were already the player that you wanted to be? Would you doubt what is possible for you? Would you second guess it? No, because if you were already the player you wanted to be, you wouldn't have doubts because internally you've already achieved it. Think about Ronaldo, all these top guys. They believed it was possible before it was achieved. That's the only way to achieve anything. Too many players wait to achieve it to feel like they're worthy of it. No, you have to feel worthy before. Trick your mind into believing you're that player now. Remember this, the mind, the subconscious mind doesn't need truth. You can tell your subconscious mind anything as long as you have enough emotion, conviction, and repetition behind it. And because the subconscious mind is what creates reality around you, it creates how you perceive things, it creates how you see stuff around you, it creates what you believe is possible around you. You can tell it anything. You can really tell it anything. So if you were already the player, what do you believe is possible for yourself? Next question. What do you believe about football if you were already this player? Most likely you would believe that achieving greatness, playing well, and the journey to the top would be inevitable, a smooth process in your mind. You would believe every goal is well within reach. You wouldn't doubt yourself. Next question. How would you feel about yourself if you 100% knew you would achieve your goals? How would you feel about yourself if you 100% knew it was certain you would achieve your goals? And this is the mindset you have to step into because reality only shifts when you truly believe, when you truly know, when you have 100% conviction in achieving your goals. This is when things change. Next question. What would you believe? Sorry, who would you believe you are at the core if you were already this player? My guess is that you would probably believe that you are that guy, that you are the one, because you're already that player in your mind. So you would have the confidence of this player. Now, the next one is a very important one. How would you respond to negative scenarios and negative situations and negative performance if you were already this player? Would you spiral and fall off? Or would you maintain that self-confidence and that self-knowing that you are that guy? Think about Ronaldo. Would a few bad moments get him down and make him lose belief in himself? No way. The reason response is so important is because it's the biggest telltale sign of who you believe you are at the core. If a negative situation has the power to change how you feel about yourself, then clearly you are not who you say you are. So, with all these things mentioned, you have to embody this person now. The thinking, the belief system, the view of self, the way you respond to negative scenarios. Everything has to align with you being this player now. Stop waiting. This is how you shift identities and become this player now. Because here is the thing about reality and about life. Life is a mirror, and life mirrors your internal state. Your external experience, your reality, mirrors your internal state. So if you're a player who doubts himself and you're waiting for one day to have a good performance, have a good season, to feel worthy of finally feeling like this player, you're going to be waiting forever because reality is a mirror. Waiting for reality to change before you feel good about yourself is like going to a cave and expecting to hear an echo before you make a noise. Doesn't work like that. It's always internal to external. So you have to embody this person now and then go and do the training and then go and train hard because now that you've shifted your identity, the mental block, the cap, the ceiling has been raised. Therefore, when you go and take the physical action, the return on investment, the reward is going to be a lot more than what it would have been before. And that is how you take your career and your game to the next level. And this is exactly what I've worked on with my clients. And clearly, as I said to you before, the things that we've achieved together, national team call ups, from goal droughts to goal streaks, bulletproof confidence, trials at clubs in Europe. This is what happens when you make the identity shift and then you take the correct action in your reality, in your career, in your training, in your recovery, in your sleep, in your eating. This is when you begin to see the shift. So if you're a pro footballer and you're serious about taking your game to the next level, DM me on Instagram at T9Level. Let's get to work, man. Let's take your game to the next level. But yeah, the identity shift every footballer must make before the 2026-2027 season. Go and do it. By the way, I also created a module called the Pre-Season Protocol, which is a module designed to help footballers make the necessary identity shift so they can take their game to the next level next season. So link in bio for the module and also link in bio for my Instagram to work with me one to one. Let's get to work.